Alright guys, so let's read another chapter of Machiavelli the Prince. This is a this is a letter to the prince from Niccolo Machiavelli, okay? So he's actually wrote to the prince. So we're on chapter 17 of cruelty and mercy, and whether it is better to be loved than feared, or the contrary. Proceeding to the other qualities I have already mentioned, I maintain that every prince must wish to be considered merciful and not cruel. Nevertheless, he must avoid using mercy inappropriately. Cesare, C-E-S-A-R-E, Borgia, that's his last name, B-O-R-G-I-A, was considered cruel, yet his cruelty brought order to the Romagna, uniting it and making it peaceful and loyal. All things considered, Borgia proved far more merciful than the people of Florence, who allowed Pistoia to be destroyed simply in order to avoid a reputation for cruelty. A prince, therefore, must not fear being reproached for cruelty when it is a matter of keeping his subjects united and loyal, because with a few exemplary executions he will be more merciful than those who, through too much mercy, allow the kind of disorder to spread that gives rise to plunder and murder. This harms the whole community while an execution ordered by a prince harms only a single individual. Unlike an established prince, a new prince cannot escape a reputation for cruelty, since newly acquired states are filled with danger. As Virgil has ditto say, res dura, et regni novitas me talia cogunt, moliri et late fines custor dueri. The harsh situation and the newness of my kingdom forced me to act this way and post guards at my borders. Nevertheless, a prince must not be quick to believe the worst and act impulsively, becoming afraid of his own shadow. His actions must be tempered by prudence and humanity, so that too much trust does not render him incautious, nor too much mistrust intolerable. This raises the question whether it is better to be loved than feared, or the contrary. My reply is that one would like to be both, but as it is difficult to combine love and fear, if one has to choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved, because it can be said of men they are ungrateful and inconsistent, simulators and dissimulators, and that they are hungry for profit and quick to evade danger. While you do them good, they are devoted to you, offering you their lives, their possessions, their children, as I have said before, but only as long as danger is far off. The moment danger is at hand, they turn away. A prince who has based everything on their word without taking other precautions is ruined, because friendships acquired at a price and not through magnanimity and nobility of spirit can be bought but not owned, nor do they bring a return in difficult times. Men have less compunction about harming someone who has made himself loved than harming someone who has made himself feared, because love is held in place by chains of obligation, which, as men are evil, will quickly be broken if self-interest is at stake. But fear is held in place by a dread of punishment, which one can always rely on. The prince, however, must make himself feared so that he avoids hatred, even if he does not acquire love. Being feared and not hated go well together. And the prince can always achieve this if he does not touch the property or the women of his citizens and subjects. If he finds he must execute someone, he should do so only if there is adequate justification and a manifest cause. But above all, he must refrain from seizing the property of others, because a man is quicker to forget the death of his father than the loss of his patrimony. The greedy heart, right? Furthermore, there are always ample reasons for seizing another's property. And he who begins to live by plunder will always find reasons to take what belongs to others, whereas the reasons for having to execute someone are rare and frequently altogether lacking. Yet when a prince is with his army and has a multitude of soldiers under his command, he must not scruple about gaining a reputation for cruelty, because without it he can never keep his army united or willing to follow him into battle. One of Hannibal's many admirable achievements was that he marched his enormous army of myriad nationalities into battle into foreign lands. Okay. Gosh, train. Okay, what is it? One of Hannibal's many admirable achievements was that he marched his enormous army of myriad nationalities into battle in foreign lands. Whether fortune smiled on him or not, there was never any dissension among them, nor any rebellion against him. The only reason for this was his inhumane cruelty, which, combined with his infinite skill, made him venerated and feared in the eyes of his men. Without this quality, his other abilities would not have produced this effect. Some careless historians admire this quality while condemning the principal reason for it. That his other abilities would not have sufficed to keep his army in check can be seen from the example of Scipio, Scipio, an exceptional... Okay. That his other abilities would not have sufficed to keep his army in check can be seen from the example of Scipio, an exceptional man not only in his time but in all of history. His army rebelled in Spain for no other reason than his undue lenience. So his army rebelled in Spain for no other reason than his undue lenience, which allowed the soldiers more freedom than is suitable in military discipline. Also, undue, U-N-D-U-E. I mean, he never gave leniency. He always gave leniency. Yeah, he always gave leniency, right? I mean, he always let him slide. His undue lenience, which allowed the soldiers more freedom than is suitable. So yeah, he was reproached for this in the Senate by Fabius Maximus, who called him the corrupter of the Roman army. The Locrians, L-O-C-R-I-A-N-S, the Locrians had been savaged and plundered by one of Scipio's officers, after which Scipio neither made reparations nor punished the officer. A consequence of Scipio's easygoing nature. The Locrians had been savaged and plundered by one of Scipio's officers, after which Scipio neither made reparations nor punished a consequence. Okay, I get it. Subsequently, a Locrian spoke before the Senate, and in an attempt to excuse Scipio, said that there were many men who were better at not transgressing than they were at punishing the transgressions of others. With time, Scipio's nature would have thrown a shadow on his fame and glory had he been a general in the times of the empire, but as he lived under the government of the Senate, this weakness was not only concealed, but brought him glory. Returning to the question of being feared or loved, I conclude that since men love at their own will and fear at the will of the prince, a wise prince must build a foundation on what is his own and not on what belongs to others. So a wise prince must build a foundation on what is his own and not on what belongs to others. At the same time, he must do all in his power to escape being hated, as I have already said. So feared and not hated, but create a foundation upon your own, not on others. Yeah, not what belongs to others. Peace, y'all. This guy there was no Netflix back then.